Hello everyone, my name is Lili Su. Today I will talk about the power of random symmetry breaking in Nakamoto consensus. Nakamoto consensus was proposed about 1 decade ago, and it has been applied to many popular cryptocurrency systems, such as Bitcoin and Ethereum. As a currency, we need a ledger to record transactions and to trace the ownership of a coin. But different from traditional currency, such digital currency calls for decentralization, which means the ledger has to be maintained and updated in a distributed manner. A high-level description of such a cryptocurrency system is, we have a collection of participants, often referred to as miners, and each miner gonna maintain a local copy of a append-only ledger. Okay, you have some new transaction request, and the miners will try to add such like new request to the public ledger. A natural consensus problem kicks in because there are so many local copies. Then we need to make sure those local copies are consistent with each other. In Nakamoto consensus, because the system is permissionless, we need to defend against the Sybil attacks. A Sybil attacker is the one that can arbitrarily create a collection of valid participants. Okay, and each participant is completely controlled by this like attacker. So that is the traditional Byzantine consensus results, which crucially relies on a notion of like majority. To be honest, those results are not applicable to the permissionless setting. The key idea of Nakamoto consensus is instead of relies on some notion of majority, they relies on the capability of solving a puzzle. Okay, and also they use the longest chain rule, the longest chain rule to fuse the local information. To be concrete, suppose we have a collection of local chains. Each of them is kept by a different miner, okay? And these are just the local copy of ledgers, okay? And the ledger is in the form of this blockchain. As can be seen in this one, the first chain happens to be the longest one, and we claim this one contains the most work because to build this chain, we need to solve, the miners need to solve 100 difficult puzzles. Okay, so first, the miners need to exchange their version of local chains. And after this like information exchange, and they figure out, well, which local chain is the longest one. And then they start to extend on the longest chain by competing with each other in solving the puzzle, okay? And whoever is the first one to solve the puzzle is allowed to append, extend this longest chain by creating a new block, okay? And this new block essentially contains the user transaction request. Okay, and in this way, Nakamoto consensus is able to handle Sybil attacks. But many challenges still remain. The first one is an adversary miner may not necessarily extend on the longest chain. And second thing, which is more important, is the existence of multiple longest chain. Okay. Like in this case, if two miners happen to contain on the longest chain, their chains both longest alike, then which one, right? The miners should extend. There are multiple reasons for the existence of longest chain. The first one is the puzzle difficulty level. Okay, in fact, this is kind of like a fundamental truth of probabilistic mining. No matter how hard or how difficult the puzzle is, it is surely that at some round there will be multiple chains. Okay, but by setting the difficulty level to be high, we are able to control the possibility of such longest chain in a given round. And second reason is the adversary attack, and this is relatively easy to understand. In practice, to reduce the occurrence of multiple longest chains, people set the puzzle difficulty to be very, very high. In the Bitcoin practice, okay, we expect it to have one block every 10 seconds, and this is extremely slow. So many work attempts to analyze and formalize Bitcoin system and other system. There are still some like limitation of existing work. Okay, for example, those two seminal work, they first they built up a model and they were able to analyze the correctness in terms of the existence of common prefix and the chain growth of those like local blockchains. Okay, but only under the regime where the puzzle difficulty is very, very high. In fact, those results are derived under the assumption called like honest majority assumption. This assumption, unfortunately, itself contains many interdependent parameters. And if we zoom into their interdependency, we found the following implication, where P is upper bounded by this quantity. Here, P is the probability that any miner will solve a puzzle in a given round. So intuitively, it is a mining rate. And N is the number of active miners. B is the upper bound of the adversary miners. Okay, these bounds have two extreme cases. If we have this, which means the adversary miner is near half of the entire participants, then in this case, P has to be set, at most on the order of 1/n squared. So that is, if we have 1 million miners, then we only expect it to have one block generated every 1 million rounds. So that is extremely slow. Another extreme case where is like B equals to N, where there's no adversary miners at all. And this assumption still implies that, well, even in this case, in this pretty like ideal case, we need to set P to be at most on the order of 1/n. Okay. And also there are a couple of like common beliefs that I would like to re-examine in this work. The first common belief is that the easy puzzle, okay, even in the absence of adversary, will create many forks, and such forks prevents the common prefix to grow over time. The second common belief is, which is also implicitly mentioned in the seminal work, is that the choice of symmetry-breaking strategies is not even relevant to the correctness of Bitcoin blockchain. Okay, and in this work, as mentioned, we examined these two common beliefs, and we found that actually these two common beliefs, they're just some artifact of existing analysis of the limitation of existing analysis. Our contribution can be summarized as follows. In terms of the insights, we show that in the absence of adversary, okay, the forking caused by large P, actually no matter how high we set P is, we can even set P equals to 1. Okay, but such large P itself does not prevent the chain growth if we just use a little bit of symmetry breaking, such as the one, say, use uniform at random. Here, uniform at random symmetry breaking is the one where, say, if a miner see multiple longest chains, the miner just choose one of the longest chains uniformly at random, independently of other miners. Okay, on the analysis front, we have managed to analyze a much wider range of P, even including the existing well-studied regime and even the high P regime. Okay, high P and not that high P regime. We also introduced, in terms of methodology, we introduced a new analysis method. Depart from existing popular analysis methods, which is based on quantifying the number of occurrence opportunity. In our analysis, we couple the forks, okay, the forks of longest chains with the coalescing time of random walks, okay, on complete graphs. Okay, and we introduced several like new notions, including adversarial advantages, which is itself is a random process coupled with the dynamic of the Bitcoin protocol. And the second notion is the coalescing opportunity, which is a counterpart of the convergence opportunity, but different from the existing notion. Okay, in this quantity, we do not require P to be small. Okay, but instead, in this existing like quantity, P needs to be small, so that for like convergence opportunity to occur. In terms of model, we consider synchronous model, where the message sent out in each round will be delivered at the beginning of the next round. And we assume the Byzantine nodes, the Byzantine miners, they do not have computation, they do not have unbounded computation power, okay? They are polynomial algorithms. And at any time, the system adversary can corrupt up to B nodes to be adversary miners. And if a miner is corrupted, then the miner stays to be corrupted at this stage, okay, throughout the entire execution. And we're going to use the term like miner and node interchangeably. In terms of protocol, okay, in each round, R, node I will do the following. It first updates its local chain to be one of the longest chain. It assessed, it could be existing longest chain, existing local chain, or any one that it received, okay, at the beginning of this round. And then node I try to extend this chain by mining block, which will be successful with probability P. After this extension, it broadcasts its updated local chain to others, okay, just to fuse the information. I'll introduce a couple of notations that are simple generalizations of existing notions such as prefix and chain growth. Suppose we are given a collection of chains. The common prefix, the maximum common prefix is the longest common prefix, okay, of the chains in C. And maximum inconsistency, intuitively speaking, is the maximum fork, is the length of the longest fork, okay, among those chains. Specifically, it is defined as follows. Here, Ci prime minus PC is the subchain, okay, by taking the common prefix out. And here the absolute value denotes the length of the chain. Okay. Here the maximum returns the maximum length of such like fork length. For example, if we have 3 chains in the given set C, okay, like this, they share a common, and this is their common prefix, which is a trivial like block, which is trivial chain contains a genesis block only. And for the first one, C1 minus PC, okay, the fork length is this, okay, and similarly for chain 2 and chain 3, okay, the length of this one is the maximum inconsistency. Okay, we are ready for the analysis part. We first consider the simple setup where P equals to 1 and B equals to N. Okay. So basically we are considered adversary free setting here. And we consider the ideal mining case where any miner is guaranteed to have a block mined in each round. Okay. This figure is illustrate a special example where N equals to 1. Okay, in this figure, we use different colors to represent the different miners. Okay, we have blue miners, pink miner, yellow miner, and green miner. Okay. And this block is the block mined by blue miner in round 5. And similarly, this is the block mined by the green miner in round 2, and so on. Okay. And in each round, okay, there are 4 blocks because P equals to 1 and N equals to 4. At the end of round 8, we have this 4, okay, chain as the longest chain in the system. As you can see that though P equals to 1, right? And we could see, well, though there are still some like forks, but those 4 longest chains, they share a common prefix of this long. In fact, if we just let the execution continues, these forks will drop over time, and the longest chain will grow over time. So that is, despite the existence of multiple longest chains throughout the entire dynamic, their common prefix still grow over time. Okay, that is one of the indication of this example, and we show that this holds in general. Okay. we have the following result. Suppose P equals to 1 and B equals to 0, then for any given round, or if we do for every given round, in expectation, the local chain, the longest chains of that round, share a common prefix of length like this, t minus 1, t plus 1 minus OM. The first part is the expected chain length. Here, we have one genesis block, and in total, we have T rounds, right? In each round, we have a new block generated. We have a new block added to the chain. And ON is the expected maximum inconsistency, is the length of the fork here. Okay. Your expectation is taken with respect to the randomness of random symmetry breaking. And this theorem says that large P indeed boosts the growth of common prefix. Okay, if we have large P, then the leftness is increased in the adverse free setting. And though, yeah, the previous iteration is right in terms of there are indeed some like forks, but such forks are temporary and they can be quickly resolved by repetitive symmetry breaking, okay, across rounds. And to show this result, okay, we build up connections of coalescing random walks and maximum inconsistency. Before talking about the proof ideas, let's talk about some like backgrounds on coalescing random walk. In coalescing random walks, we are given a graph. Okay, it could be a complete graph and could be arbitrary, like undirected graph, with or without self loop. We are given a set of particles like this. Okay, and in general, we can have each particle located at each vertex, and those like particles moves as follows. Okay, before they meet, each of these like particles just make the standard random walk, okay, over this graph. Okay. But whenever they meet, whenever two or more meet, they're gonna unite into one particle and continue the random walk. Okay. So that is, suppose in this like example, we have 3 particles at the beginning. Each particles make independent movement, and these 2 particles happens to visit the same vertex. Okay, and that's when they united into one and move together. From there, again, these 2 surviving particles make independent random walks. Okay, and 2, they happen to choose the same vertex to visit. Then they unite into one. So in general, if initially every vertex is occupied with a particle, if we start with each particle at each like vertex, then the time takes until all the particles to merge into one is called the coalescing time. Okay, and we use that in our work. In our analysis, we use that to bound the maximum forks, the maximum inconsistency. And the connection is as follows. Okay. Yeah, I changed the like figure a little bit just to save the space a little, save the space. Okay, but the same as before, we still have 4 longest chains in each round. Say in round 4, we have these 4 longest chains. Okay, and these 4 longest chains, if you look back, they have this is your common prefix. Okay, and those are their maximum inconsistent level, maximum inconsistency. For each longest chain, each such 4 longest chain, we are able to find a random walk. Okay, if we look backwards, we find a random walk, and the random walk it is defined as follows. Okay, just recall there. Each block has a color. Okay, so corresponds to this longest chain. Okay, we have a random walk as follows. We start. The particle starts at the blue vertex, and then it moves to the blue vertex, and then move to the green vertex, and then stay there. Okay, it's kind of, we go from green to blue, yellow to blue to gray, green to green. Okay, and similarly for this longest chain, we assume there is a particle, starting at the blue vertex, and then it visit this like pink vertex, and then visit this one. Okay, and then stay there. And similarly here. Okay. So each longest chain corresponds to a random walk, and in fact, those random walks, they are not independent of each other. They are coalescing random walk. to see this, okay, let's see. Those are the 4 longest chains, we agreed, okay? And if we trim away the blocks added at around 4, okay, these 4 longest chains, it means remain have like their prefix have 3, is reduced to 3, okay? And you further trim this layer away, okay, their common prefix is reduced, number of common prefix reduced to 2. And we further trim this away, then the number of common prefix becomes 1. Okay, so it's kind of like the particles move around these like colors. Whenever they meet, they unite into 1. Okay. And if you look thiswards, that's like forking. If you look backward, that's coalesce. With this, we build up connection of like coalescing time and the maximum inconsistency. Okay, and we plug in the result on coalescing random walk, which says that if the graph is complete with self-loop, then without result self-loop, then the expected coalescing time is OM. For the general P, the adversary-free setting, we have the same, like we have similar results. The only difference is the expression is a little bit like involved, and we need to discuss a little bit on the origin of P with a simple threshold. Okay, similar as before, the common prefix, okay, the length of common prefix has 2 parts. Its expression contains 2 parts. The first part is the expected length of the common, it's the expected length of the longest chain. And second part is the upper bound of the expected inconsistency, the length of the longest fork. Okay. And the reason that these two, I mean, the expression on the maximum inconsistency are a little bit different is because under different like region of P, we are able to come up with like different mathematical approximation. Okay, but the fundamental idea is the same, just the approximation part is different. Okay, so the forking part, same as before, is independent of T, only depends on NP, okay, does not depend on T. So that is when your algorithm, I mean, execute over time, the common prefix grow over time. The length of the maximum inconsistency, the length of the forks are gonna stabilize over time. The proof, unfortunately, is significantly harder than the warm-up case where P equals to 1. The warm-up case is not easy to analyze by itself. And the reason is, one of the reasons is the number of longest chains. I mean, different from the P equals to 1 case. Here, the number of longest chains in each round, okay, are time varying. If we use the same complete graph with n vertices, the obtained and use some stochastic dominance to conclude the obtained bound is far from loose. Okay, will be the maximum inconsistent bound will be say OM. Okay, now this like now something depends on NP. Okay. So towards this, we introduce a new notion, which is a simple generalization of the coalescing random walk. It's called lazy random walk, defined as follows. In each round, with probability 1 over U, all the surviving particles stay at their current vertices. And with probability U, each of the vertex will execute the standard coalescing random walk. Okay. The second difference and challenge is like, there's no fixed correspondence between color and vertex, okay? Because there's no fixed correspondence between color and the minor. We have to use some like color reassignment analysis procedure, okay, to adapt the proof. And with all of this done, we finally use some stochastic dominance to bound the maximum inconsistency. Similarly, we can extend our results to the adversary prone setting by giving our theorem can cover a much wider range of P, but we do need the following assumption. We do need So in each round, a chain can be extended by at most one block. And we show that they can be ensured by a new VDF basic scheme. Okay. Unfortunately, the theorem statement is much more involved than the adversary prone setting. Here we have a given T that is a round number, and M is the given, say, maximum inconsistency, like budget. Okay. Beta is some parameter determined by the NB and P. And P plus 1 and P minus 1, there are some quantify some like relatively power or advantages of the honest group and adversary, like minors, respectively. Okay. In particular, P plus 1 is the probability that in a round only honest minors found block. Okay, there could be multiple honest minors found block here, and P star is nothing but the summation of these two. The theorem says that for any such given for entity with high probability, okay, the fork length of any two longest chains is no larger than M. Okay. Unfortunately, like we were not able to, I mean, a lot of like trade-offs are hidden inside like this expression. Actually, in the future, we want to push out the explicit trade-offs between the system parameters such as NP and P, okay, in the adversary prone theorem there. And also, we want to provide a scheme that is not based on the VDF to ensure the assumption that, you know, in each round, like a chain can be extended by one block only. So that is the blocks might in a given round cannot build on top of each other. So a third like open direction that I would like to explore in the future is to investigate more advanced symmetry breaking strategies. Okay. To sum up, okay, in this paper, one of the key message is, in terms of analysis, is we show that the notion of convergence opportunity is not crucial, it's not fundamental in supporting existing analysis. In fact, we can rely on some other notions, and the other notions has the advantages of like, we don't have to restrict our attention to small p. Okay, thank you for your attention, and feel free to reach out if you have any question on this presentation. Thank you.